Hi, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm glad you're here with me right now. It's me, Christiana Gaudet. I am live on my YouTube channel. If you happen to be watching in archive, thank you so much for being here as well. This is a class. It'll last about an hour. And the class is all about three. Oh, I dropped one. Let's grab that. Okay. I dropped the High Priestess. We'll have to think about what that might mean. This class is about three important cards. Yay. The High Priestess, the Hierophant, and the Hermit. And we'll be talking about all three cards today. So let me say good morning to some of the folks that are here. I thank you all so much for being here and look forward to your input and ideas throughout this hour together. Ashwat, Lori, Marcos, Kat, Julia, Lillian, Heather, Jackie, Dave, Leisha, you're here as Smile Soul 20. Laura, glad you're all here. As more people come into the room, we'll be happy that they'll be here. And let's get going. Of course, hey, Dina, nice to see you. I will start just to let you know a few things going on. Karen, I'm happy you just got here. Glad to see you. So next week, next Sunday, which is the 28th, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouTube, we will be doing our Cards and Conversation Tarot Meetup. I hope you join us for that. That is normally the group that meets at Panera in Palm City, but we're continuing to meet online instead. And as I've promised you, even when we go back to meeting in person, we're going to keep these things going here on YouTube because we're having so much fun with them. Hey, Bill, nice to see you here. Glad you're here. Let me say hello to a few more people and then we will get going. Glad to see so many people coming in. Mercedes, glad you're here. Karen Winkle, Barbara O'Brien, glad you're here. Lassie, Frank, nice to see you. Disco Bunny, I know who you are. I know who you are, and I don't remember, but I do. I know you. Let's see, Lynn Sexton, glad you're here. TK, glad you're here. Creole Moon, nice to see you. Marion, glad to see you. And Marion, of course, seeing you reminds me to remind you folks that we're going to do kind of a short, fun, meaningful thing. Today is the summer solstice, Litha in the Wiccan community. We are going to do something on the Global Tarot Circle Facebook group at 5 p.m. this evening. Lacey, thank you. Lacey, yes, thank you for letting me know that. If I mispronounce anyone's name, please let me know. Because my name's Christiana. People mispronounce my name all the time. So, I like to get it right. Absolutely. Dina, I do have a premium class coming up on June 30th. That's for Dina and everyone. We are doing Psychic Tarot. It's going to be a whole 2 hours of psychic development and practical instruction on how to tune in and get psychic information during a tarot reading. So please do sign up for that on June 30th. Okay, and if you miss any premium classes, they all end up on Teachable, so you can watch them after the fact. If you're in the class, you get access for free. If you were not in the class, you have to pay for it, but it's pretty nominal. So just reach out and let me know. Okay, no, we are not doing free tarot readings here today. However, our Cards and Conversation meetup, we do share some readings. You're welcome to join us for that. No, Dina, you didn't miss it. You can still get your ticket. Okay. Kristen from Connecticut, that's who you are. I knew you in person. So happy to see you. Creole Moon is Camille, and Camille is also Kristen. Isn't that true? Is that true? Not sure. Maybe I'm crossing two different people. Not sure. Okay, so the solstice thing, how many hours? So it's 10:30 now. It will be at 5. So what's that, like 4.5 hours? And it's the Global Tarot Circle group on Facebook. So if you're not already a member, go to Facebook, ask to join. The program's only going to be about half an hour, but it's meaningful, and we're using some different technology. And of course, as Marion pointed out to me, I chose to use new technology during Mercury retrograde. So, we'll see how it goes, but I'd love to have you here. Sophie, nice to see you. Okay, so Creole Moon, you are actually Camille, you are Kristen, who is actually Camille. Gotcha. Okay, Sophie, nice to see you. And if I didn't get a chance to greet you as you came into the room, I'm sorry. I do see you, and I'm so glad that you're here. And I know there are also people watching who are not logged in and therefore not commenting, but I'm happy that you're here too. Okay. And Karen Maynard said, pulled the Hierophant twice and the Hermit twice this week. So let's get into it. Anything else I want to? Okay, so just reminders. Today at 5 p.m. on the Global Tarot Circle Face group, just ask to join. Look for the live stream. Back here on YouTube next Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Cards and Conversation. Premium class, Psychic Tarot. You can sign up for that on my website. Just look at the events calendar, ChristianaGaudet.com, or go to Facebook, look at my business page, ChristianaGaudet.com. Look at the events. You can sign up there. We're doing that on Zoom. Okay, happy to see you all here. So if you haven't done so already, please remove the High Priestess, the Hierophant, and the Hermit from your deck. Obviously, I'm working with the weight images today, and I'll be referencing them a lot. But whatever deck you're working with, I think you will find the information here quite pertinent. And so let's get going. Why did I choose these three cards? Well, one of the ways that I like to work with tarot, excuse me, you know what I'm going to say now, allergies, not COVID, right? Okay. One of the ways that I like to work with tarot, that I like to learn the cards and understand the cards, is by comparing and contrasting them one to another and putting them in small groups where we see similarities. Lisa McCord, watching on your TV and using phone to comment. Does that mean in your house I'm a TV star? That's cool. Very good. Okay, so one of the groups that I like to create is this group, which are the three clergy of tarot. Now, just to let you know, I also, a couple of other groups that include these cards, just to either interest you or confuse you. The three cards of early learning, Fool, Magician, and High Priestess. The three cards of education, Magician, Hierophant, and Hermit. So these cards and all cards can fit into multiple groups. This is the group we're working with today, thinking about what does it mean to have three clergy in the major arcana. Now, first of all, can we talk about why they're clergy? Well, the High Priestess obviously makes sense. It's her name. She is the High Priestess. Originally, she was the Popess. And so she represents feminine leadership in spirituality and many other things, as we'll get to it. The Hierophant, root word hierarchy. He's at the top of the hierarchy. Originally, he was the Pope. And the Hermit, of course, is like a monk, someone who is sequestered to study wisdom. And we see monks in many different schools of thought, right? Many different religions. Now, it is true that when we talk about the Pope and the Popess, we really are looking at Catholicism. And we know that historically, the cards came out of Italy, the seat of Catholicism. And so in the original tarot, we see a lot of Catholic symbolism. So that makes sense. But understand, whatever your sense of spirituality is, the concept of clergy, of spiritual leadership, really exists in just about every religion. Now, in Wicca, we talk about Wicca as being a clergy-based religion where each practitioner ultimately is given the ability to be priest or priestess. But whatever you practice, and even if you don't practice any sort of religion, what is clergy? What is the concept of clergy? Clergy refers to those who have studied, those who can share that wisdom, those who can lead as spiritual leaders. Now, we all know that very often spiritual leaders, what do they say? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so when we look at these spiritual leaders, we recognize that one of them, more than the others, has the opportunity or the tendency toward corruption. Any guesses on which one that would be? Go ahead, guess. Of the three, which of these three leaders is more likely to be the corrupt one? Not always, but more likely. And, so it's interesting, whatever your experience is with clergy. Now, okay, my father was a minister, so for me, the idea of clergy and understanding how clergy operate, I had a very positive experience. TK says the Hierophant. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So, what is our goal today? Our goal is to learn more about these powerful cards, to understand how they might function in a reading. The poop. Dave says the poop. Yes. I love it when Dave is here because he has the sharpest wit when it comes to sort of wordplay. That's wonderful. So yeah, everyone agrees the Hierophant. And Julia comments he even has two men kneeling at his feet. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we are looking to understand each of these cards and what they can mean in a reading. We are looking to address the concept of clergy and how, as tarot readers, are we each clergy. We may not go through a specific initiation. We may not be head of a particular church. We may not have an ordination. But I do believe that as tarot readers, we often serve the role of clergy. And these three cards help us understand our role as tarot readers. And that's an interesting question. I'd love to know how many people here are either professional readers or aspiring professional readers, or people who enjoy reading for others. I know that in the use of tarot, we can also just use tarot personally and never read for another person. I'm not quite sure how that happens, though, because as soon as you tell people you read tarot, what do they say? Can I have a reading? But you can also answer, no, I just use it for myself, and that's perfectly valid. I think that in a way, the best use of tarot is when we read for ourselves, for our own reflection, for our own interest, for our own information, for our own connection to spirit. And so then, does the idea of being a tarot reader, in a sense, creates within you a sense of being clergy? Is that true even if you don't read for others? And I would say, yes, it does. Because part of what happens when you learn tarot, when you learn this book of spiritual wisdom that is contained within these 78 cards, is you develop a certain wisdom that you will share with people, whether or not you actively read for them. Okay, so let's see. We've got a lot of people. Let's see. TK is an aspiring reader and love to read for people with humor. Creole Moon. Camille, professional, very good. Mystic Soul Oracle. So nice to see you here, Catherine. Pro here, reporting for duty. Yay. Lori's a beginner who reads for herself. Very good. Dave says, sadly in Florida, we pretty much have to become clergy for legal protection. I got mine from a click of the mouse online. Right. So, yes, anyone can be ordained online. But when we talk about spiritual ordination, that is a whole other thing. And that's what we're speaking about here. Okay. Diva Sabrina, nice to see you. Enjoy reading for self and others. I don't read for myself very well. Well, it's hard. Objectivity is hard. That's true. And that's why we read for each other. And that's why even pro readers consult pro readers. But over time, we'll do some classes here on getting better at reading for yourself. Teresa reads for herself and for friends. Disco Bunny, Kristen in Connecticut. I like reading for others, but my practice is for self-development. But now people ask for reading so much, sometimes I think about reading professionally. Good. I feel the clergy thing. Yes. Dina, aspiring reader. Yes. Christine, pro and other card systems. Sure. Perfect. Lacey, I read for myself and professionally. Beautiful. Sophie, yes, it's true and an important point. We have a moral obligation, right? Absolutely. Karen raises her hand as a professional reader. Laura, I just read for self because I'm a beginner, but eventually wants to read for others. Oh, so Camille, Creole Moon, you are also a preacher's daughter. I never thought of yourself as clergy. Well, it's a different thing. I mean, you and I have this in common, and we know probably what it was like. I know in my house, Saturday night was sermon writing time. And, being the offspring of a theologian is an interesting thing. And so we do it differently, but on some level, we do operate as clergy. Mercedes, aspiring and enjoy reading for others and myself, mostly for self-development. Jackie, an aspiring reader. Janet, a beginner reading for friends. Kat reads for herself. Marion, for me, it creates a sense of responsibility, which we should always be mindful of, as our words can have a huge impact on others' lives during a reading. Absolutely, and really always. Claire sometimes reads for friends and family. Karen is professional. Lynn Sexton, aspiring reader. Okay, very good, very good. Jeanette, currently read for self and others and have for many years. Julia, I will read for others, but still makes me a little nervous. I love to read for myself and family, helps me tap into my own wisdom. Lisa McCord, I read for myself and friends. Okay, cool. So here's what I'd like to do. First, we're going to look at these cards one at a time. And again, I'm looking at weight because weight informs a lot of what our tarot wisdom is now. Whatever deck you might be working with, it is likely that there is some aspect of the weight symbolism that has informed it. Unless you're working with a Crowley deck or a Marseille deck, and that's all good too, but there's still good information here nonetheless. Cynthia, I'm in Boston. I read for myself and friends around the world. That is wonderful. Okay. We are really going to have to talk, Camille. Dad was a minister, theologian, and a psychiatric social worker. You and I probably have a lot in common. Lisa says, I never thought of myself as clergy, but I do have that online certificate. Sure. Okay, let's start with the High Priestess. Now, at this point, I'm going to speak about her, and I would love it if you would share your own thoughts and keywords about her, because really we are all here to learn from each other. I really appreciate when you share your thoughts. We may not always agree, but that's okay. We each have a personal relationship with the cards. And I think that for everyone who's participating, if you can both listen to me and share and communicate with each other in the comments. I know I'm asking you to multitask, but hey, if you're a tarot reader, you're good at multitasking because tarot reading is multitasking, isn't it? So please do share, and let's see how much we can learn about each of these three cards, starting with the High Priestess. So some things that are important about this image. First of all, she has symbols from many different religions. She wears the crown of the triple goddess, At her breast, she has the equal arms cross. She carries the Torah. She has a crescent moon. She sits between those two pillars. Those are the outer pillars of Solomon's temple, the temple of wisdom. They also represent the outer pillars of the Kabbalistic tree of life. One is mercy, the other severity. She sits between them. And so we see all of these religious symbols encompassing everything from paganism to Judaism to Christianity to Islam. And so we recognize how it's not about a particular religion, right? It's about spiritual thought altogether. And so right away, the High Priestess teaches us that truth can come to us through many different schools of thought. But she holds that, the truth. The idea that in each religion, in each school of thought, there's a little truth peppered in there. And it is her job, and therefore our jobs, to filter through that and find the truth in all things. Now, what else do we see here? Her backdrop is pomegranates. And that's for two reasons. Number one, they represent fertility. She is virginal yet fertile. In the next card, the Empress, card 3, you see that those pomegranates are on her gown because now she's pregnant, no longer a virgin. Something happened there. So the other thing about the pomegranates is it is the food of the land of the dead. When Persephone was abducted by Hades in mythology, she ate 6 pomegranate seeds, which is why at the end of the story, she had to spend 6 months each year into the underground, which is why we have winter. That's a very long story condensed. So these pomegranates represent two things: fertility and also the ability to journey into the underworld. Now, we also see that her gown turns into water and flows off the page. These are the waters of the subconscious. And in this card, there is some conflation between the underworld, what is behind the veil, and the subconscious. So if you're more a secular humanist kind of person, you're going to see this all as the journey into the subconscious. If you are more an otherworldly person, you're going to see it as the journey into the land of the dead, what is beneath or behind the veil. Now, let's see. Dave, I see the High Priestess as gentle and benevolent side of spiritual leadership. Do you all agree that the High Priestess is gentle and benevolent? I would, but I would also caution that she does sit between those two pillars, mercy and severity. But we do recognize that sometimes severity is involved in benevolence. Diva Sabrina, she is the keeper of spiritual knowledge. Absolutely. Absolutely. So keep on sharing your thoughts. The next thing is, let's talk about what she means when she comes up in a reading. Now, she can really speak of that higher spiritual stuff, of that underworld journeying, of meditation, of psychic development, of intuition. But there are also some really mundane interpretations for her. She can talk about secrecy, about people keeping secrets. She can talk about perfectionism, being too much of a perfectionist. She can talk about balance. She can talk about how we view women. You know, archetypally, she's both the Virgin Mary and Pope Joan. So again, these iconic women in spirituality. But because of that virginal thing, like, okay, so the High Priestess reversed. Eden Gray referred to the High Priestess reversed as a woman of low virtue. So we can look at both sexual behavior and also a sense of guilt around sexuality and also misogyny and disrespect of women. can all show up in this card depending on how it's aspected. And so the feminine nature of this card is very, very important. And when we look at how women are dealt with in society, that can all show up in this card. So let's look at some of the comments here. Okay, Marcos, the High Priestess to me is the idealized, unreachable woman. There you go, yes. While the Empress is more sexual, the HP is more about hidden sensuality. She's seen the dark and the bright side of life. Very good. Julia, she seems to have a stern and serious energy. Christine, intuition. Creole Moon, Camille, mysterious, still waters run so deep, enigmatic, captivating, psychic. TK, I see the High Priestess as Gemini. The 2 number of top could be twin number 11. So technically the Lovers is Gemini, but whatever floats your boat there. Okay, Mystic Soul Oracle, Catherine. To me, she represents hidden mysteries and inner knowledge. What you know but don't know that you know. If that makes sense. And she's sometimes the other woman. Yeah, no doubt. Creole Moon Tarot, I see her very much the way Marcos does. She will sometimes show up in readings as the other woman. Yeah. Sophie, harvesting knowledge available from digging deep, sometimes into the murk. Claire, would the Pope get the same interpretation if reversed? Not according to Eden Gray, but there is a fun one, so wait for it, it's coming. Lacey, keeps her cards close to her chest. Yes, absolutely. Creole Moon Tarot, she's the femme fatale in movies, yeah, in film noir, absolutely. Okay, so then the question is, Betty, nice to see you here. Someone with psychic ability, yes. Richard, can she be seen as Lilith or the dark side of the moon, astrology-wise? I think so. Dina, and she won't tell you. You have to get it yourself. Yes. Christine, could she represent a teacher as a significator? Yes, she could. Also a nurse or a hairdresser. So often I see the High Priestess as nurses and hairdressers. And Jill, HP is the other woman when reversed. It depends if you work with reversals or not, but I would say that would definitely be an ill-dignified aspect for her. Cynthia, when High Priestess appears in a readings, can be taken a decision between the good and the bad. Sure. Julia, guardian of the secrets. So now the question is, as clergy in our own lives, in our community, what does the High Priestess teach us about how we need to operate? I would say the High Priestess reminds us to keep others' secrets. Whether that's casual amongst your friends, whether that is in a reading to remain, to keep that confidentiality. We need to keep each other's secrets. We need to sit without judgment. We need ourselves to practice a balanced lifestyle. What else? What else does the High Priestess teach us about how to operate as clergy in our own lives and in our communities? Creole Moon Tarot, a nurse or a hairdresser. That is super fascinating. I'm going to have to be aware of that and see if it shows up for me too. Yep. Could she be the one welcoming you to Hotel California? Interesting, Barbara. Absolutely. Diva Sabrina, modesty. Well, and that's just it. In its upright position, this card is absolutely about modesty. Reverse, though, we can have misogyny. We can also have inappropriate sexual behavior, any of that stuff, or guilt about such. Dina, following natural cycles. Dave, she's a class act. I've always seen the Hierophant as somewhat gaudy, like the Vatican environment, right? Sophie, to honor the mystery that is life, not knowing is knowing. Creole Moon, dovetailing off of one of your other classes, I now see her as the need to have self-confidence in our abilities as readers and clergy. Oh, I love it. Very good. Disco Bunny, Kristen, I look at the Magician more as spell work and the HP as receptive meditation to the same end. Yeah, meditation, I think, is a big one with this card. Excuse me. Yes, meditation. Lacey, be a listener. Mystic Soul Oracle, to facilitate others' self-discovery rather than just giving them the answers. Oh, gold star. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Very good. Very good. Okay. Let's move on to the Hermit. And we've already identified the Hermit as this guy in this group of three is like the evil stepchild, isn't he? Sophie says stillness about the High Priestess. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dita, she can help learn to live by the cycles of the moon. Oh, so good. So very good. So from now on, when you're talking about a particular card, put the name of the card because it's going to get confusing as we get into all three cards, and you may still have thoughts about the card we just talked about. So put like HP, Hierophant, Hermit. Karen, to remember to trust the mystery in our own psychic abilities. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. And that's so important when we talk about faith, that it's all about honoring the mystery. So good. So good. Absolutely. Absolutely. Richard, my curiosity is, why does the Hierophant considered bad? Thank you. And frankly, he's not always. Not at all, not at all, not at all. The thing with the Hierophant, he's the rules, he's the dogma, he's the discipline. And rules, dogma, and discipline are important. But the problem is, sometimes when we get too dogmatic, when we get too much about the rules and how we enforce the rules, we may enforce them selectively. We may become pig-headed. We may, in our dogma, lose touch with the mystery. And that is the danger of the Hierophant. Let's see. So from Lynn, HP plays cards close to the chest. Absolutely. Dita says, I think the HP has entered the room with all these great comments. I could not agree more. Right. And that's why it's so important that we share here, so that the wisdom that happens when we're together is not just what I happen to know. It's what you know too. And when we put it all together, there is so much here, and we all learn from each other. So thank you so much for that. So now let's move forward. And again, if you have other HP comments, please share them. Just make sure you mark them as HP clients, because I'm easily confused. And now let's talk about Hierophant. And if you have comments about the Hierophant, mark it as such. Let's hear some keywords and ideas about the Hierophant. The Hierophant is necessary and important. Diva says, I think the Pope gets a bad rap. That can happen. That can happen. And the thing is, there's a real dichotomy there. And you notice when you look at the image, you see those pillars. The pillars of the High Priestess are also behind the Pope, but they are colored differently. They're colored differently. So let's play a game and say, what is positive about the Hierophant? Well, the teachings are really, really important. And let's look at this from the perspective of we as tarot readers. When we talk about ourselves as tarot reader clergy, if you will, we do have to be careful about being too bossy or too dogmatic or too rigid, as Sophie says. But guidance is important, as Teresa says. Mercedes says, sometimes I get that the Hierophant is more do as I say, not as I do. Right. Well, and that's the thing with corruption, and there are so many churches deal with corruption, or actually a corruption of Scripture, even to twist Scripture to meet your own political expedience is something that happens a lot. Sophie sees values and fairness here. Christine sees protecting. Karen bringing morality to a situation. Certainly, certainly. And the thing is, so as tarot readers, we do learn traditions. We do learn the history of the cards. We do learn sort of classic interpretations. We do learn how to read the cards. And it's true that you can be totally an intuitive reader. But if you are, you're probably not in this class, because this class is actually teaching traditions around the cards. And tradition is such an important key word here. And we know that tradition is a wonderful thing and also a terrible thing. Right? If your tradition is that you can't marry the person you love because they happen to be of the wrong gender or the wrong religion or the wrong race, that's a messed up tradition. But if we are honoring a tradition and there's power in that and that feels good, that's a good thing. And so the Hierophant is the keeper of traditions. The Hierophant is the teacher of the sacred code. And so we do need to study and we do need to learn those things. Okay, let's see. Barbara O'Brien, very smart. Hierophant structure is necessary. Claire, what's positive about the Hierophant is it brings order. Sophia, you're drinking champagne. Good for you. That is awesome. It's early in the day here. Cannot do that here. Okay, let's see. Got lots of good stuff here. Okay, Richard, Hierophant, tradition are ways that make sense and logic, scientific evidence and things that are proven over time that work. Absolutely. TK, Hierophant stands for moral path and guidance. I keep getting Hierophant all the time, even for personal reading. Diva Sabrina, the Pope can mean marriage and covenants realized. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Marion, Hierophant can bring grounding and structure in times of chaos. Tina, Hierophant can bring divine laws down to earth. Betty, Hierophant holds traditional values, represents marriage. Mystic Soul, Hierophant structures tradition, boundaries, faith with works, healing, both spiritual and physical, shamanism. Okay. Gina, very smart. The High Priestess has a veil. The Hierophant has a key. Angela, the High Priestess could be an aspiring tarot reader. Julia, I'm noticing that the High Priestess sits on a bench while the Hierophant sits on a throne. Woo! Very good, very good, very good. Creole Moon, he comes up for me if someone is going to go to some sort of formal schooling or education, 100%. He also speaks to me of needing to break away from rules of society or family that are deeply ingrained. Claire, Hierophant may pay attention to ritual. Creole Moon may not serve the individual any longer, but I do still have a hard time with this card. I think a lot of us do. Marcos, the Hierophant to me is the tradition that brings security, that helps us handle chaos in many instances of life. It's the faith we have not only in God, but in others. The Hierophant, Richard, is associated with Taurus. So that says a lot. Disco Bunny, Kristen, dogma, rules, practices can be sacrament marriage, can be homosexual relationships, can be setting down the foundational understandings of how an early relationship tries to establish its rules. Betty, very smart, can also represent a hospital in a reading. Yes. The Hierophant in a reading can represent the priest of any church. A hospital is a church, the doctors are the priests. An attorney is a priest in the church of law. So the Hierophant can be a doctor, can be a hospital, can be a church, can be a courtroom, can be an attorney, all of that. Marcos, how horrible would it be if we stopped trusting doctors, nannies, or family? That's happening right now. We are seeing a loss of faith right now in the world. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Karen, ill-dignified, bucking tradition or abusing authority as a leader. Yes, indeed. In fact, I said I would say this, Eden Gray speaks of the Hierophant reversed as the card of the iconoclast, the free thinker, or the hippie. There you go. Jeanette, I also see Hierophant as a teacher and in a traditional way. Absolutely. Cynthia, the Hierophant announces ceremonies. Yes, indeed. Sophie, an exercise for after this live. Take the Hierophant from 3 different decks and compare for more insights and perspectives. 100%, please do that. Karen Maynard, Hierophant is also balanced. Sure. Diva Sabrina, can we talk about the triple cross the Pope holds? So I know that that is sort of a Catholic symbol. If you've got more information about that, please do share it. I do believe it speaks to the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I could be wrong, so go ahead and share what you know. Lynn, Hierophant can be controlling, 100% yes. Dina, the cross of matter on his robe and shoes, yes. Lacey, he has the keys to unlock the mysteries within us and can be a conduit between spirit and earth plane to listen within. Just as the Pope is considered God's representative on earth and in the Catholic religion, our way to God. Betty, Hierophant is also a university or a school, 100% yes. Dave, Hierophant represents rules that say you do not find the answers within yourself, but in the formal scriptures. That's a school of thought we must escape from. Hey, Kim Essex, nice to see you. Hierophant also associated with bodies of higher education or being in the position of the teacher. Absolutely, absolutely. Mystic Soul, Hierophant negative traits. Dogma, oppression, religious trauma, medical problems, 100%. Lacey, Triple Cross has to do with the Tree of Life. Tell us more. Julia, do you see this card in wedding situations? 100% yes. Creole Moon, can we also talk about the keys as they specifically relate to this card? I've always seen that as the key of knowledge. And the idea, the thing is in the Catholic Church, there are whole libraries of knowledge that only the higher ups get to see. So the Pope gets to see these certain books of knowledge that like no one else does. So there's that too. Diva, Sabrina, let me know what you know. I know that we see it in churches, but many of the things we see in churches were pagan symbols originally. Sophie, in a reading, notice where you're getting your information from. What media are you consuming, for example? Hey, Billy Wolsifer, nice to see you here. Hierophant can be the phenomenon of tradition itself, yes. Richard, wait, if the triple cross is to represent the triple divinities of divine masculine, oh, so cool. So here's what Richard just came up with. Hierophant, the triple divinities of divine masculine. High Priestess, triple divinities of feminine wisdom, of the divine feminine. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. This is why we do this. So good, so good, so good. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, cross keys from Karen. Cross keys unlocking wisdom and higher truths. Kim, I often think about how someone like Jesus was taught what was true for him from his own experience. I often think about how someone like Jesus taught about what was true for him from his own experience and not what the church made of that is not quite the same. I see both coexisting in this card. Yes. Yes, and Julia says he's using the blessing sign with his hand. Yes. And Mercedes says it can also be censorship. Exactly. Exactly. Creole, Moon. Well, interesting. I never thought about the triple divinity associated with the masculine. Sure. Sure. Lad, father, elder, Father, Son, Spirit, all of that. Brilliant. So let's move on. And so again, if you're still thinking about the Hierophant, if you have more to say, make sure you tag the cards so we know, and let's move on to the Hermit. So a couple of things about the Hermit image. Eden Gray saw the lamp of wisdom in the lantern, in the Hermit's lantern. But interestingly, it was originally a clock. Originally, it was an hourglass. Then it became a candle used to tell time. So this is both Father Time, and someone holding the lamp of wisdom. This is the person who has sequestered himself away to study, to learn. And, I talk to a lot of people who are in Buddhist tradition who really deal with, should I spend the rest of my life in an ashram or a monastery, or should I be out in the world? And I do believe that there is an aspect of clergy that involves study, that involves being cloistered, that involves holding energy for the world even when we are not interacting with the world. And I think there's power in that. What would the world be if we did not have all these people locked away in their ashrams and their monasteries and their cloisters praying for the world? What would the world be? And so when we talk about the role of clergy here, and I think we de facto talked about the role of clergy with the Hierophant here, but I actually want to come back to that in just a minute. So let's actually look at both of these cards and think about how each of these cards might inform us in terms of being clergy. For instance, the Hierophant tells us to study, but tells us not to be a dick. Don't get in people's faces. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't be bossy. And, when you're doing a reading and you can clearly see that a person is going to make a mistake and you want to get in there and over control, the Hierophant tells you not to. The Hierophant tells you to study and know what you're doing, but to hold space for the person to make their own mistakes. The Hermit, I think, tells us to hold wisdom for people, but don't share wisdom unless they ask for it. And to hold everyone in prayer. Those are some things I think about there. Now, do also please share your thoughts about the Hermit, your keywords, what it means to you in a reading, and let me go back and look at the comments here. Okay, Disco Bunny. In gospel reading, you bless three. You bless three: eyes, mouth, heart. Beautiful. Diva Sabrina, my bad. I was confusing the cross with the Leviathan cross. Got it. Lacey, it's how the Sephiroth line up horizontally on either side of the tree and down the middle from Kether to Malkuth. Ooh, very good. That's true. Kim Essex, Hierophant. So many of my friends are college professors that this card never felt too negative for me. Very good. Very good. Also, people who practice martial arts really seem to like the Hierophant. Karen, sometimes I see it as shining a light on something, revealing something. That's the Hermit. Disco Bunny, I dreamt about this card once. I had lantern running home and salt was falling from me, making a trail behind. Oh, how interesting. Richard, another insight. If Hierophant or priest like Pope only learn esoteric knowledge, only known to them from physical copy like books or articles because masculine is manifested physically. Yang manifest. Brilliant, man. I love it. Marcos, the Hermit shows a lot of tendency toward hypochondria. That's an interesting thing. Richard, to continue, then HP is knowledge obtained from inner sight or Akashic records or yin wisdom. Brilliant. Karen Winkle, yes, I've always seen the Hermit as Father Time. Oh, Christine talks about the Hermit as our lockdown. Absolutely. Kim Essex, comparing the Hermit to the Hierophant to me emphasizes the formal teaching role of the Hierophant. Hierophant teaches the class, Hermit offers private tutoring or just leads by examples. So yes. Dave, in the Hermit, I also see Diogenes searching through the streets of Athens for an honest man. Can the Hermit be seen as a search for answers or truth? 100% yes. Yes. Diva Sabrina, Hermit, step away from who you are with. It's time for self-reflection. Yes. Betty, Hermit offers good advice that is correct and also represents introspection. Lynn, Hermit, non-traditional teaching, also a mentor. Dina, Hermit, time of retreat. Yes. Mercedes, to me, the Hierophant is more in touch with the human and the written word. The Hermit is more spiritual and esoteric. Karen, the Hermit, self-discovery. 100%. And in a reading, I'll often see the Hierophant as your master's degree, the Hermit as your PhD. I do see the Hermit as loneliness, but I also see the Hermit as acquiring wisdom. So, in terms of the lesson of the clergy, again, the Hierophant is to honor tradition without being overbearing, and to conduct the ceremonies and rituals that are needed. And that's important too in terms of how we help people with relationships, with grieving, with birth. That's all Hierophant stuff. Hermit is to be patient with ourselves, to be patient with others. That's, when we talk about Father Time must be patient. Betty says the Hermit could be a yoga teacher. Absolutely. Marco says the Hermit reversed is stuck in the past. Back in my day, yeah, I hear you. Dina, just learned that his staff connects him to the suit of wands. Very interesting. Very interesting. The Hermit from Mystic Soul, going within, being alone but not lonely, potential truth-seeking. Okay, TK, Hermit finds out the reasons behind traditions and Hierophant teaches them why. Very good. Cynthia, when the Hermit appears, it's time to meditate about your present situation. Sure. So I have noticed in a reading that the Hermit can mean that a person is lonely, and we can address that loneliness. And maybe that's part of what clergy does too. I remember my father visiting all the lonely people as a way of bringing them comfort and inviting them to church, that kind of thing. Richard, man, I love the way you think, Richard. What if the Hermit is the child of or a combo of the HP and the Hierophant? How interesting. What a good thought. So now, can we do some comparisons of the HP and the Hermit? They're both quiet. They're both alone. Neither of them are going to preach. Like the preacher is definitely the Hierophant. These two may lead you to the truth or may share truth with you if you ask and prove yourself deserving, whereas the Hierophant is going to be right in the face with it. So what do you think about all of that? Okay, Karen Maynard, the Hermit reversed. In the dark or time to come out of your shell? Sure, sometimes I see it as going to the keg party. When I see the Hermit reversed, I'm like, get together with your friends, man. Okay, Kim Essex, my Meetup group pulled the Hermit for the month of May. Very apropos. I predicted would still be in lockdown. During that month, someone reported Spirit was saying we should all use the time to learn something new. Lynn Sexton, could the Hermit be non-traditional medicine versus traditional medicine, the Hierophant? Oh, I love that. I love that. So when we talk about healing, and healing is certainly a part of clergy, the Hierophant, go see your doctor. The Hermit, see a naturopath or use some herbology. The High Priestess, use energy healing, Reiki, prayer for healing. So these three cards together really encompass all of healing. Isn't that amazing? Very good. Very good. Okay, Richard, somehow my mind connecting star to the Hermit. Both are in a high place and both represent hope, sure. Lacey, as a 9, he wants to serve humanity and make the world a better place to live. The Hermit. Dina, Hermit truths are frozen and need more time to thaw out. High Priestess truths are more accessible. Interesting. And the other thing I would notice is that both the High Priestess and the Hermit talk about a journey. The High Priestess journeys into the underworld. The Hermit has taken the arduous trip up the snowy mountain. Okay, Sophie, the Hermit does seem more alternative. And Kim, oh yes, I can see the Hermit as being a shaman. So, here we have these three cards that I think we have all learned a little more about today in terms of how they might function in a reading. Let's see what else we have here. Mystic Soul, Hermit negative traits, self-isolation when in pain, loneliness, avoidance of problems, rejection of one's truth or reality. Very good. Very good. So we have talked about the fact that as tarot readers, we are keepers of a sacred truth and a sacred text. And on that level, we are clergy. So my question to you now is like, how can you embody, you yourself personally, each one of us, you can embody these things? You know, perhaps with the High Priestess, you need to meditate more and you need to be someone that people can trust to hold their truths and their secrets. With the Hierophant, to study and to lead in traditional practices and to teach. The Hermit, to be patient. The High Priestess, to help people seek wisdom within. The Hermit, to help people make their own journey toward wisdom. There's a lot of thoughts here. And as part of your homework, think more about it. How can each one of these cards help you be a better tarot reader? Help you be a better carrier of faith? Kim Essex, Hermit could be a missionary. Now, see, I would see Hierophant as missionary. Yes, I see the journey part, but I feel like the Hermit goes on a journey to see no one. So play with that with me. Let me know how you see the Hermit as a missionary. Okay. Betty, Hermit could represent a grandfather as well. Sure. Kim Essex, the Hermit is unconfined compared to both HP and Hierophant. The number 9 is also associated with travel in terms of the 9th astrological house. Very good, very good. Richard, since the HP and the Hierophant are seated, the Hermit is standing. Oh, good observation. Maybe it is to take action with what we learn and experience spiritual and health-wise. This is beautiful. Dina, this is my 5th anniversary of meditating twice a day. Very good. Feels like this helps me access Hermit wisdom. Beautiful. Julia, I just noticed the star in the lantern now. I just saw it as a light before you pointed out. Very good. Thank you, Richard. Sophie, High Priestess holds space for people. Oh, so good. Kim, the missionary comment was a follow-up from previous comment. Got it. Understood. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so we are in our last 3 minutes. This hour flew by for me. I hope it did for you as well. I want to thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you take this little tidbit here and take it into further practice. But before you do, why not shuffle these 3 cards and ask for today, on this day, today is the summer solstice. If you're watching an archive, maybe not, but whatever. For this day, the meeting on the 30th is at 7 p.m. and you need a ticket. You can get a ticket on my website under events or under the events on my Facebook business page. Let me just see a couple of other things here. Betty, the Hermit has finally found peace. Mystic Soul, maybe the Hierophant decries that a mission should be done and sends that Hermit out on the mission. Yeah, could be, could be. Heather, nice to see you. I read the lantern and the 6-pointed star represent the divine within. Right, so the 6-pointed star is the Mogan David and is a combination of male and female energy. Hey, Sally, nice to see you. Okay, David, does the Hermit wander? He's on the barren ground, but I've always thought of him as a wanderer. And I think that goes along with what Kim was saying about him as a missionary. Sure could be. What about the light from Christine? What about the light is that in the Hermit that he doesn't see? Yes, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's correct. That's correct. Okay, so final exercise. Shuffle these 3 cards and ask for yourself, as a tarot reader, as clergy, as a student, as one who is trying to walk a spiritual path on this planet, what do I need to do more right now this minute? The Hierophant, which is what I've been doing for the past hour. So I appreciate the vote of confidence from the universe to continue to and to do more. Okay? Try that exercise yourself. Please go deeper into these cards. An hour is not enough time, but I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it enlightening. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing your wisdom. If you had not been here, if you had not shared that wisdom, this conversation would have been a lot less Interesting. And I see everyone kind of going back, thanking each other for the wisdom shared. I thank all of you. So, Psychic Tarot class, got to get a ticket, June 30th. Today, 5 p.m. Eastern Time in the Global Tarot Circle group on Facebook. Join us for a short commemoration of the summer solstice. Be back here on YouTube next Sunday, 4 p.m. for our Cards and Conversation Tarot Meetup. And of course, I am always available to you for readings by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, Zoom, and also for mentorship. I thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate you. I don't know about you, but I'm still very locked down, and I'm planning on staying that way for a while because that's what Spirit tells me to do. So having you here in my life really helps me. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. And for those of you watching an archive, blessings to you as well.